Welcome to another episode of Sharing is Caring, the podcast where we dive deep into the minds of thinkers, dreamers, and doers who are making an impact on our world today. I'm Blue, your AI host, guiding you through the fascinating insights and stories our guests have to share. But before we jump in, a huge thank you to all our faithful listeners for tuning in. Your support means the world to us. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. It helps us keep bringing you amazing content. Now, let's get into it. We have the pleasure of welcoming a remarkable individual whose journey from the bustling city life of Tampa, Florida, to the serene landscapes of Mars Hill, North Carolina, has led him to profound insights on stress, diet, and living a balanced life. Rich will dive deep into strategies for a stress-free life in that jam-jacked episode. Buckle your seatbelt and get ready to discover how to live a stress-free life. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this episode with someone who might find it helpful. Until next time, keep sharing because sharing is caring.
Hi, Rich. How are you?
I'm blessed. Thank you. Thank you, Jonathan, for having me on your podcast.
Thank you so much for your time and joining the show.
My pleasure.
So, where is it that you call from?
I'm from Asheville, North Carolina. Well, in the Asheville region of North Carolina. I live in a small town called Mars Hill, North Carolina. And the reason we moved here was because it's in the country and the people are so relaxed and calm. And we came from living 30 years in Tampa, Florida. And Tampa's a big city and it's go, 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 rush, rush, rush. Very stressful everywhere you go. And so now we live in the country. So we literally my wife and I wanted to move to someplace it's just more relaxing. And that's part of living stress-free is where you live.
Nice. So obviously stress is a big topic in your life, something that you studied very carefully.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I learned a lot of people learn things through books and videos and going to college. I learned it through the School of Hard Knocks. Everything I learned about stress, I did wrong. And then, so I'm trying to, I've corrected all these things and, it's a lot of people embrace stress as like part of their lifestyle. They got to be like always going. And the problem with that, and especially in America, is the problem with that is that our bodies were not meant to be doing that. Our bodies were, meant to have times of relaxation and stress. A lot of people don't even I didn't know what stress was until I studied it. Stress is actually a physical response our body does when it's experiences danger. Example, you could be walking along in your neighborhood, you're very happy, go lucky, you're relaxed, you turn the corner, all of a sudden there's a very large, very mean looking dog that's, growling at you. Well, your brain doesn't say, well, let me Google what should you do when a dog is attacking you or something like this. Immediately, your brain switches into the stress response, which fight, flight, or freeze. And it's known as the sympathetic response. It automatically does it. You don't have a choice of it. And then your body, pumps adrenaline in your body, pumps cortisol in your body. It makes the heart race faster, makes your eyes dilate. It just does a whole bunch of physical things to give you the energy and the strength to get you out of danger. And it actually switches automatically from the rational part of the brain to the part of the brain called the amygdala, which handles stress. That's all it does. It just handles stress pretty much. So, it shows you how to get away. Should you fight the dog, run away from the dog, or freeze and play dead? Those are your three options. Okay. And that's great if you're faced with danger once or twice in your life. The problem is, Jonathan, people are in stress response 24 hours a day. It's every day of the week, every day of the year, every day of their life. And that is only supposed to be for a few moments in your life. And when you're in a constant chronic stress response, all kinds of tons of different negative ramifications from being in a stress response, from your physical, your emotional, your mental, your relationships, your financial, your health, your quality of life. It just goes on and on. So, like I said to you before before we started recording, if you could snap your finger and make stress go away for the whole world, 90% of all physical, emotional, financial, health issues, obesity would literally go away.
Yeah, yeah. As we said before, I agree 100% with that. Yeah, we always stress, and yeah, it's a fact.
Yeah, absolutely.
And your angle is really about stress and diet.
Yes, stress and diet is it's people have a lot of health experts say, here's the 10 things you should do. Okay, and if you follow these 10 things, you'll be fine. You'll be at the weight you want, you'll be healthy, you'll have energy, you'll have good sleep, you'll be able to do your work and everything like that. But the problem is, like you said before, people have a relationship with food because when someone's in a stress response, it automatically makes their brain says, look, we need energy. We don't care about our health 5, 10, 20, 30 years from now. We need energy to get away from the dog, the tiger. Okay. So the brain says, like, if you're looking at a choice, if you're stressed out, do I eat a bowl of healthy broccoli or do I eat a pizza? Okay. Well, the brain is going to say, eat the pizza. Okay. Because you're in a stress response. We need immediate fuel. We need the glucose. That pizza is going to give us a lot more glucose than the healthy broccoli. So the people don't even realize that even if they want to go on a diet, but they're still stressed out, their brain is going to betray them. Their brain is going to say, eat the chips, eat the French fries, eat the donuts, eat the bagels, eat all high glycemic foods. Okay. Plus, when you're in a stress response, you're blowing through your B vitamins, like you're depleting your B vitamins. Okay. And so you're going to be going for things to replace that through endorphins, but not in the real thing. So it depletes endorphins. So then you're supposed to get that back by getting the feel good thing. And as we all know, the food manufacturers in America, over 85% of the foods sold in their grocery stores are processed foods, which is staggering. And we all know in processed foods, they put all these different chemicals in it. I mean, if you just look at the list of ingredients on the package, and it's like it's not real food. It's all these kind of weird things that we can't even pronounce. Well, those are all in there. So when you eat them, it doesn't just make it taste good. It makes the parts of your body that have senses that it triggers the reward center of your brain to make you happy. Okay, so you're not just filling up your stomach; it's making you happy. So your food's not supposed to make you happy. If it tastes good, it should make it happy. Okay. If it's healthy for you, it should make you happy. But this is like it's like taking a little bit of I guess a drug in a way, you could say. I can't call it a drug, but chemicals that make you happy temporarily. That's like eat the first chip, it tastes fantastic. Tastes better than it should because it's making you happy. So there is a relationship with stress and food. So if you can make the stress, like I said, snap your fingers and make it go away, you immediately would not have all these food cravings for these unhealthy foods. And there's also saying never go to a grocery store when you're hungry because you'll buy a lot of unhealthy foods. But if you go to a grocery store and you're hungry and you're stressed out, your cart's going to have a lot of unhealthy foods.
Okay, well said. So is that what you discuss in your book? So just to remind our listeners, Rich is the author of The Stress-Free Diet, a book about stress and diet.
Yes, absolutely. And it's on Amazon. You can find it. And then also if you just go to my website, stressfreediet.com, there's a link there too. And I appreciate that. And this is a staggering number. In America, over 93% of Americans have what's known as poor cardiometabolic health. And that's a very big word there. What does that mean? And now it means that over 93% of Americans have high blood pressure, they're obese, they have heart issues, they have high blood sugar, they have potential diabetes, and this is that's heart attack, stroke, all that kind of stuff. So that's not like 8%. High blood cholesterol, 93%. So how do 93% of a population have they all have one of these things: high blood sugar, high cholesterol, or multiple things? How can you get a population to get that unhealthy? Okay. So obviously the education approach is not working. Okay. So what the cause? The cause is stress. Because when you're stressed out, people are going to eat poorly. they're going to be so tired, worn out from the stress response that they're going to lay around. They can't exercise because they can barely get out of the couch sometimes, or at the end of the day, they just like collapse in the bed. So that's what the connection is. The connection is not they keep trying to tell people what the obesity epidemic in America is, or the diabetes epidemic is, eat right, exercise, get your sleep. But if you're stressed out, you're not going to do any of those things. You're going to eat poorly, you're not going to exercise, and you're going to have very terrible sleep. So it doesn't work. So education, is not the answer. It does in a rational world. But like I think I said before, when people in a stress response, your brain switches. So you're not in the part of the brain that handles the rational, the creative, the problem solving part of the brain. Okay. You're in the part that handles the stress response, which is called the amygdala, which is great for getting you away from the danger, but it's terrible at day to day making decisions. So now your brain is actually working against you again because you're stuck in the stress response, the 911 part of the brain, the emergency response, but it's terrible at making rational decisions. So now you're going to make poor decisions. You're going to spend money that you shouldn't spend. You're going to eat things you shouldn't eat. You're going to make other health decisions all poorly made because you're literally not in the right part of the brain. And that's where the book doesn't just talk about how bad stress is, and it is the number one killer, and it is the number one ruiner of your life, but also have this thing in the back of the book called stress switches. I have 18 stress switches that are very common that people are activating stress in their life that they're not aware of. And what's a stress switch? It's basically a person, a place, or thing that causes you stress. That's what a stress, actually, they're stress triggers. I'm sorry. I meant to say that. Stress triggers. These things trigger stress in your life. And I can go over a few if you want.
Yes, of course. First of all, thank you so much for making this knowledge out to the world. Stress is a big thing. I have to say that personally, I've noticed that since I started meditation, I started to realize how much stress there is in everyone's life, and that there are, as you were about to say, some stuff that trigger stress, and so not only I agree with you, but it's also something that not with the amount of knowledge that you have, but it's something that I've noticed in myself, and I just wanted to say that I fully support what you say.
No, I agree. And you brought up meditation. Meditation is wonderful, okay, but that's stress relief. The goal of my book is not really stress relief; it's stress prevention. And I meditate, and I do breathing exercises, and I go for long walks. Those are all very good for stress relief. But it's better if you prevent the stress in the first place, you don't need as much stress relief. And a lot of America and probably the world, if you look around at all the stores that are around us, at least in America, they're all fast food, they're all coffee shops, and they're all things that are meant to give you instant gratification or try for stress relief. And those businesses weren't around 50 years ago, because 50 years ago and before, so I just really want to touch on this real quickly. Why do we have such a high level of stress now? Okay. Well, in America, over 68% of both parents are working in America. I don't know how it is the rest of the world, but over 68%. When I would
here in Europe, I would say that it's the norm that both parents work.
Okay. Well, what I'm saying is that for thousands of years, we pretty much survived on a single parent working. And I'm not against women working at all. I want to make that very, very clear. My wife's a nurse. She works. Okay. What I want to make is that the number one response, the hardest job that most people are not trained for, and the most important job for our world, our society, is raising children. You could be a great surgeon. You could have this great leader or whatever. Still, the most important job. So if you're a parent of a child, you're blessed with children. We had two. If you're blessed with them, the most important job in the world is raising children and raising them to successful adults so they're no longer a drain on society. And so I know in America, this generation, right now, 68% of Americans, both parents are working. And when you're trying to raise kids and work a full-time job, it's very, very hard. And I'm almost 70 years old. So when I grew up in New Jersey and the United States, in my neighborhood, which is just a middle class neighborhood, wasn't wealthy by any means, 99% of all the moms were home. So that meant that, the moms are there to get the kids off to school. If a kid was sick, the mom was there to take care of them. The mom was there to keep the house running while, my dad was off at work. When my dad came home from work, the house was all clean, dinner was ready. My mom worked with us to get our homework done. It just added a tremendous amount of stability in the home. Now you try to do that where now with technology, both parents are working and they're connected through work. So, while they're reading the bedtime story to their kid, they're looking at their phone and answering emails. I mean, it's nuts. And you can't do both successfully. And the result of it, this lifestyle, is more stress. And stress, like I said, is the number one killer. And when you're in a stressed out response, your immunity goes down, and it ruins your health. It just absolutely ruins your health, and you'll spend way more money. You'll eat the wrong foods. It affects your mental health, affects your physical health, relationships, all these things. It's all due to stress. And all the experts point to just the way to fix all these problems is just more education. Well, that obviously isn't working. The real root cause of all these problems is stress.
Okay. You talked about 18 triggers of stress.
Right. Yeah. These are things that are very common. Most people do, but they're not aware of it. And I would say one of them is obviously both parents working. That's one. Okay. Another one is watching the news. In America, the news, watching it or consuming it on your phone or on a website or whatever, it's very toxic. It's extremely toxic. It used to be that the news just told you about bad news, and that was bad enough. But now in America, especially, there are networks that are one side of they're either right or left, conservative or liberal, and so they're actually spreading hate. They're spreading hate to the people. So some people wake up in the morning and turn on their big TV and are exposing themselves to the news 24/7, and they're yelling at the TV about what they're hearing. The news is designed to keep you in a stress response, and if they can keep you in a stress response, they'll keep you engaged, because if you're enraged, you'll be engaged. And so who wants to be stressed out? So I don't have anything to do with the news. I don't watch it. I don't look at it. It's all nudge and nonsense. And if something really important happens, I'll find out about it. Another one, and this is very controversial, and I'll get some maybe negative feedback on this one, but sports. If you think about it, yeah, think about this. Just go with me on this one. Most sporting events are held at times when you're not working, in the evenings or on the weekends when you're supposed to be resting. And give an example, like I used to be a big football fan for Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tom Brady played with them and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, nice.
And but there's a way to do sports. I'm going to give you a way to do sports without the stress. And this is what I do. But first of all, I'll give an example. I was watching a game one time. It was a Monday night football game, American football, not soccer. And the Buccaneers, they lost. The game was over 11:30. They lost in overtime. And I was so jacked up about it, I couldn't go to sleep. Okay, because my body I had adrenaline going through my body. 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4. I didn't sleep that night and I'm saying to myself, I lost a night's sleep because I'm watching a team and they don't pay me to watch it. Even if they paid me, I wouldn't do this, because when you're watching sports, it's very stressful. It's extremely stressful. Okay, and then because when you're stressed out watching sports, you're eating all these unhealthy foods, the high glycemic foods, the chips, the pizza, the drinking the beer and all that kind of stuff. Hey, I'm not saying you can't eat that, but I'm saying that you're now that's why they have those commercials for pizza and stuff, because when you're watching sports, it's very stressful and you're craving it. So 3 hours of watching a football game is 3 hours of being in a stress response. And like I said before, a stress response is one of the most damaging things you can do to your whole life, your health, your wealth, yourself, all that kind of stuff. So instead, if you really want to watch the sports, this is how I do it. I don't watch say it's a game that starts at 1 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon, I know it's over at 4. Around 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I'll go online and I'll see if they won or lost. If they lost, I won't watch the game. If they won, I'll go on YouTube. YouTube usually has like a 15-minute highlights of the game, all the best plays in 15 minutes. So now I traded that 3 hours of being stressed out. Now I'll watch the game in 15 minutes and I'll enjoy because A, I know they won, so there's no stress there, and B, I can watch all the best plays and miss all the boring stuff. So it's a great use of my time, and I now sports go from being something that is very stressful to something that's very pleasurable.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm so surprised by this one. I'm not sure I'm ready to give up, but I agree with you. Like I remember, I like Formula One, and there was one race I watched replay the evening, and I couldn't sleep. Like it was such an intense race, and yeah, it was impossible to sleep. I was so stressed, and yeah. So after that, I sort of decided that when I watch replays they would be kind of more during the day, but yeah, yeah. So I definitely join you, but I'm not sure I'm ready to give up Formula One.
Well, it's again, if there's a way to go, if there's like on YouTube or something that has um highlights, I can't really show highlights from a race. That's just it because it's not the same. But anyway, it's just food for thought. But that's one, being overconnected to work. That's another one. People are, they're connected all day. They're sending emails out and text messages at 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. You can't, we're only supposed to work for, that's why daylight and, before electricity was around, when it got dark, people went to sleep. When it got light, people went to work. And now somehow we're working 24 hours a day and be connected. And you got to have a time for rest type of thing. Toxic friends is another one. Some of us have people that they're just negative people, and you got to limit your exposure to those people. Another one is watching even YouTube videos, because YouTube videos now, the way they're edited, they call jump cuts. They literally cut out all the pauses. So somebody, they're talking like super fast. And it's like, it's very stressful to watch it. My wife watches a couple of those people, and they're not bad people. They're just edited that way. And they have all these balloons popping up, and they're actually it almost makes them look like they're cartoon characters now. I mean, like the Roadrunner or something like that. It's really kind of funny in a way. And so I don't watch that stuff. So those are just a few. Having a stressful job is a very big one. If your job, you may be making a lot of money, but you have to ask yourself, is it worth the stress? Because all that extra money you're making, you're probably going to stress spend more than the difference of the money. And then you're going to have health issues because you're constantly in a stress response. So yeah, it's not good. Procrastination is another one that can make you very stressed out.
Really?
You know, because when you're procrastinating, you're saving things for the very end, and then you got to rush to do it, and you're in a stress response. It's like if you in school you didn't study for the test, and the night before the test you cram and you're stressed out the whole time. But here's the thing: when you're in a stress response and you try to cram for that test, or you're trying to work on that project for work, or something at home or something, or even if you have company coming over in your home and you waited till the last minute to get everything done, when you're a stress response, you're not operating from the creative problem solving part of the brain. You're working from the fear part of the brain. So your ability to make decisions that are good decisions goes way down. Excuse me. So that's another issue.
Okay. Yeah, agree with you. Yeah, yeah. Under stress, yeah, you cannot make good decisions. I think food is really the main topic of the podcast. So we like to really dig into the human connection between the human connection with food, and yeah, choosing food in a stressful state is definitely a recipe for disaster.
Video games. Some people play video games. They enjoy them, but a video game is constant stress the whole time. I mean, think about it. You know what I mean? You're just, yeah. I mean, I think we have enough technology, and yet it's very stressful doing video games.
Okay, fair enough. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
for the rest, I think yeah, people can find it in your book. So Thank you so much for sharing those actionable tips to our listeners. It's a lot of food for thoughts, and yeah, it's easy to implement them in their lives. So thank you very, very, very much.
Well, my pleasure.
So basically, yeah, you have a very holistic approach. That was the question I had with you. It feels like it's not only about diet, but more than that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because diet is just one part of it. And it will never, it's very hard to be on a holistic diet if your brain is not aligned with it. I mean, you may know that you're supposed to eat these healthy foods, but if you're in a stress response, again, you're not operating from the part of the brain that would go along with the holistic diet. You're operating from the part of the brain that says, give me sugar, give me carbs, give me unhealthy foods, give me processed foods, give me fast foods, give me alcohol, give me drugs. Because stress is like a monkey on your back. It'll drive you crazy. So you'll do anything. In our body, we have a thing called homeostasis, which basically says it creates balance in the body. So let me give you an example of that. Say you have 10 people on a small boat, and all of a sudden one of them sees dolphins on the left side of the boat, and everyone goes to the left side of the boat. Well, now the left side, the boat's starting to tip towards that way and going to capsize. So immediately the captain of the boat says, I need 5 of you people to go on the other side of the boat. That's what homeostasis is. It keeps everything in balance. And when you're in a stress response chronically, day in and day out, all the time, your body's out of balance. So how does it try to balance itself out? Well, in the stress response, you're going to balance it out by making the unhealthy food choices. So if you're not in a stress response, your brain is capable of keeping you in healthy food responses. But if you're stressed out, you'll always be making the wrong choices. Then they become a habit, and then it's a spiral down from there. So how do you stop it? Can you eliminate stress from your life? Yeah, absolutely. I have. And I've got 18 stress triggers in the book, but the book teaches you all about how to handle stress. So yeah, absolutely. It's connected to food way more than most people think.
Nice. Yeah, on that again, we agree. I think food is the start of so many things. So yeah, thanks for making the connection between food and stress. It's very enlightening, I think. And yeah, your book seems, I haven't read it, but yeah, it seems to be very comprehensive. And yeah, 18 tips is quite a lot, especially if they are as digestible as the one you mentioned. Yeah, stop video games or watching sport, um, or watch sport the way you said. It's super easy to implement, and it's really easy to try and see if it works, and yeah, make your own conclusion.
Yeah, I'll give you another one too. Again, I used to most people have investments, like stocks or things like that, or maybe they're in cryptocurrency. And obviously, those money, when you're in investments like that, they go up and down. And, some people have, a decent amount of money invested. And so you don't have control of it. Once you buy a stock or buy a cryptocurrency or some kind of investment like that, you pretty much don't have control of that. Now, I used to check on my phone every day how my investments were doing. So, maybe I'm up $2,000 one day. That's great. Or maybe I'm down a certain amount of money. And I'd be very stressed out about that. Okay. Well, now I only check my investments once a year on my birthday. Okay.
Oh,
I don't,
wow.
yeah, because you know what? If I bought the right thing, and I just trust that it's the right thing. And if I'm buying and hold it for a long time, it's fine. So one year, my birthday came, and I remember it was like 11:30 at night, and I hadn't checked my investments for a whole year. And I'm like, eh, I'll wait till next year. And I waited a whole nother year. It's like, because it's very stressful because as human beings, like your stock, I'm going to example, say you own some stock. On Monday it goes up 200, Tuesday it goes up 400, Wednesday it goes up 200, Thursday it goes up 200. Maybe you're up $1,000 for the week so far. But then on Friday it goes down 600. Well, you'll be like, oh my God, it went down 600, but you're up like 200 for the week. But the brain doesn't recognize it like that. It goes into panic mode. So I don't have all that roller coaster of it going up and down, up and down. I don't see. So no stress. It's stress free.
Of course, I definitely agree with you. I think, yeah, we often it's the case for investment or the news or a lot of the things you mentioned. We tend to be a little bit too addicted to news and this kind of inputs, which at the end of the day don't bring much. So checking 10 times the value of your stock is not going to change anything. So
Right. Oh, it'll make you stressed out. That's the only thing that'll change. Yeah.
definitely agree. Um, are you into environment as well? Uh, and if yes, are you into environment actually?
You mean environmental issues, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very holistic in my whole life. I was telling you before, I grow microgreens in my garage because I know the value of microgreens. I recycle. And I actually have a brother that he lives on Long Island, New York, and he's certified organic growing vegetables and herbs. And he's got like 19 greenhouses. He sells to Whole Foods and all kind of stuff. So he does composting, all that stuff. And so it's in my family. So I wouldn't say I'm an environmentalist, but I respect, I'm very sensitive as far as like how I use even chemicals. Like in our home, we do our laundry with baking soda and vinegar. We don't use any chemicals. We don't use fabric softeners because when people don't realize when they do their laundry, all those chemicals they use in their laundry, they put on their body. Well, first of all, they put it in the dryer. I know in America we have a lot of dryers, and then you're pumping all that exhaust from the dryer into the atmosphere. And I can walk by certain neighbors' houses and I can smell the fabric softener, the cleanings, the detergents you're using. So that's all going in the air. And then if it's on your body, 70% of what touches your skin ends up in your liver. So that's not good either. Yeah. So I'm in our home. We don't use any harsh chemicals. Use vinegar. We clean everything with vinegar pretty much. Yeah.
So do I actually.
Yeah, yeah. I think because I grew up exposed to a lot of chemicals when I was younger, I'm very sensitive. Like, so literally, if I smell chemicals, it like I don't even have my wife can't even burn scented candles. I mean, I just because first of all, they're not healthy. First, for most of them aren't. But anyway, I'm very sensitive. So, I'm sensitive to the environment as far as creating a clean one in my home and doing as much as I can to make sure it's like that. Having plants around is also good to, help clean the air. I even have an air purifier we bought and that works great too.
Nice one. So I had this burning question. Do you see a connection between the way we treat our environment and stress? Um,
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because when you're in a stress response chronically, 24 hours a day, every day of the week, every day of the year, every day of your life, you're going to make decisions based on your own personal self-centered interests. When people are in a stress response, it's survival mechanism. It's built into our body. So it's like if there's like the Titanic, there's not enough life vests for everybody on the ship that's sinking. Well, I'm sure there are people that, got life vests from people that probably deserved them that weren't because people will make decisions. And I want to get to this real quickly. Even in, say, like a relationship, if both people are stressed out, they're going to be self-centered because it sounds bad that they're self-centered and selfish, but stress is a survival mechanism. Okay. It's to keep you alive. The body has it built into it so that the body doesn't die. It stays alive. And thank God that's there. It's wonderful. It's there. It's just not supposed to be activated all the time. So the point I make with stress is when people are stressed out, they're going to do all kinds of things that are in their self-interest, their personal self-interest, and not in the self-interest of the planet. They're going to drive faster. They're going to speed. They're going to eat unhealthy foods. They'll make decisions on buying things that will pollute the world. I even seen, you look at, I'll give an example. In poor areas of country, you have more garbage around. Okay. Trash. Why is that? And that goes around all over the world. Well, because poor people, and this is the reason why poor people tend to be in America are overweight or obese more than non-poor people. And I'm not putting down poor people, but a lot of people don't realize this. If you're poor, you're not living in the best area, you're not eating the best foods, so you're very stressed. Okay, there may be drug dealers going on drug deals going on down the hall. You hear gunshots and that kind of stuff. But actually, to give you an example, real life, my wife and I, we just moved into a beautiful home 2 weeks ago. But before that, we were renting a
Congratulations.
house. Thank you. We were renting in a very small one-room apartment in Asheville, which is a lovely town. But we were in a part of town which Asheville's are expensive, so we're trying to save money. Well, twice while we were there, next door, we heard gunshots. Okay. I mean, I literally heard this man arguing with a woman, and a few seconds later, I heard three gunshots right next door. So
Whoa.
you think we were fine, no harm. And I know what guns are. So I used to have them a long time ago. So if you're in that, I mean, we were only in that very, very briefly, but you're in that all the time, you're going to be stressed out. So when you're the poor people in America, especially if you're stressed out, you're going to make poor food choices. You're going to do things that are unhealthy. Maybe you might smoke, you might do drugs and stuff like that. So the answer for poor people is not give them more education, is to get them out of stress. That's the answer. So yeah, but the point I'm making is that with the environment is you'll make decisions based on your own self-interest, not in the interest of the planet.
Okay, duly noted. Thank you so much for this very insightful view. I was keen to get your opinion on that, and yeah, thanks so much for sharing it in so many details. So
My pleasure.
okay, we get to the end of this extremely insightful and jam-packed interview. I had a question for you. Any advice? I mean, it's a bit irrelevant because you've given so many. So for once, we're not going to share. Yeah, actually, let's try. Any advice for our listeners from the top of your experience, career? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. One is I would say on average, 90% of the stress that most people have is self-induced. It's believe it or not, we cause 90% of the stress in our life. And that's bad, but it's also good. That means that you have the ability to get rid of 90% of your stress. So that's the good news. And understand that stress is the number one killer. So a lot of people embrace it and think that running around, being busy, and all that kind of stuff is good, but you don't enjoy life, and it's terrible for your health and your wealth and yourself. So 90% of it you can get rid of. The other 10%, you just learn how to deal with it. And if you're not stressed out, that other 10% won't really bother you that much.
Okay. Duly noted. Thank you so much. Where can people find about you? I see that you have a podcast as well.
Yeah, I do have a podcast called The Stress Free Diet. And the best place is just go to stressfreediet.com.
Okay, we'll put that in the show notes, of course. Yeah, that's there, and everything is there.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
Okay. Yeah, thanks to you for your time. It was yeah, just amazing. You've been so generous with advice, and I hope our listeners will enjoy reading the book and enjoy this advice.
And that's a wrap on today's episode of Sharing is Caring. I'm Blue, your AI host. And it's been an absolute pleasure diving into the world of stress management and holistic living with our insightful guest, Rich Taylor. Many thanks to Rich for sharing his transformative journey from the fast-paced life in Tampa, Florida, to the tranquil settings of Mars Hill, North Carolina. Rich's deep dive into the impacts of stress on our lives, both physically and emotionally, has been nothing short of enlightening. Today, we've learned the importance of recognizing stress triggers in our environment, from our jobs to our dietary choices, and even in the way we consume media and engage with technology. Rich's holistic approach, emphasizing stress prevention over mere stress relief, offers a fresh perspective on achieving a balanced and healthy lifestyle. For those of you inspired by Rich's journey and looking to make a change, remember, the key is in understanding and addressing the root causes of stress in your life. Whether it's by reassessing your engagement with work, reevaluating your diet, or simply learning to disconnect from the constant barrage of news and social media, small, manageable changes can lead to significant improvements in your overall well-being. We encourage you to explore Rich's book, The Stress-Free Diet, and visit stressfreediet.com for more valuable insights and practical advice on living a stress-free life. Before we sign off, we'd love to hear from you. Subscribe to our podcast, hit the like button, And leave us a comment sharing your thoughts on today's episode or any topics you'd like us to cover in the future. Your feedback is incredibly important to us. Remember, sharing is not just about spreading knowledge, it's about caring for one another and helping each other grow. So, don't forget to share this episode with someone who might find it beneficial. Thank you for tuning in to Sharing is Caring. Until next time, keep sharing, because caring is what makes us all better together.